Claude Code now has an official plugin called Superpowers. It's got 42,000 GitHub stars, and ever since 2 weeks ago, it's now on the Anthropic official marketplace. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly what the Superpower plugin does, how to install it and get it running on your machine, and how we can go through and use it to get much better outputs from day one. Here's the difference. When we normally work with Claude Code, we simply give it an instruction like build an app and it just goes off and does it. Maybe you've got some planning mode involved, otherwise it's just going to start building it straight away. But that's not how we really want to get the outputs. But the reason that we use the Claude Superpowers is because it utilizes the software development methodology and it bakes it straight into how it's building the code. So if you gave it the exact same prompt of build an app, it's then going to go through a multiple step approach to help you get those best outputs. It's going to do the brainstorming for you of all the different ideas that you'd have. Then we're going to come down and start planning what we want to do at the different stages. It's also going to have test-driven development, which massively helps get the best outputs possible because we're going to be testing the code base and everything else along the way. And then to accelerate the development as well, we're going to have sub-agents that are able to complete different tasks, but of course, don't just put the code in randomly, actually has a code review as well to identify all the different tasks that have been completed, how all that code needs to be merged together, and then of course push it onto GitHub. But we don't want to affect our main branch that we've got on there. It helps us create isolated versions for us to be able to assess. And this is why the Claude Code Superpowers plugin is so important, because it massively helps improve the development of the code behind the scenes to improve the app's actual functions. If you've had Claude go through, start building your app, but writes it incorrectly, skips different parts, and just gives you a bad code base, this is what fixes it. And if you want to get access to any of the resources I run through in this video, or much more to master tools like Claude Code and other ones in the market, or learn more about AI and automation, click the first link in the description and come across to the community. Now, there's two ways that you're going to be able to install the Superpowers plugin. First one is you're able to come across to their GitHub repository, and as you can see in here, it's going to have all of the information. You can come down, copy all of these different requests, and then we'll be able to make sure that it's installed and ready to go. Because what you'll do is you'll run this command here within, for example, Claude Code, and it will make sure to install the entire repository. If you do it this way, you should then see these different commands when you go through and do it. So to show you the two different ways, we'll come back to our terminal. We're going to start our instance of Claude. I'm going to say yes, just to make sure that we've got access to it everywhere on our machine. Now, if you're installing it through the GitHub repository, we're going to do plugins. Then you want to tab across to marketplaces. What you'll then be able to see is if you do add marketplace, you'll see this screen here. You just need to come back across to the GitHub repository, copy this part here, come back across and paste in there, and that will install it for you. But now, as of 2 weeks ago, of course, it's an official plugin, so we can just do discover. We'll do super and then powers, and you'll be able to see it in here. We'll press enter. We'll say that we want it for myself, and we'll just go through and get it installed. Now I'm going to do / and then exit, and then we'll do Claude again. This will bring our instance back up so that we can just check we're running the latest version with that superpower now included. So now if I do / and then plugins, we should be able to tab across to installed and come down and see we've got Superpowers. Within this, we'll now see that we've got the different commands of execute plan, write plan, and brainstorm. We've got the agents we're able to do and the skills involved as well. You'll also be able to come through and update it in here nice and easily, just in case Jesse and the team make any updates and you want to make sure that you've got it. What we're going to do for now, though, is we're actually going to exit out of them. We're going to exit again, and we'll do /. Now, if we do Superpowers, as you can see in here, we've got the 3 ready to go. Now, to show you how we're able to bring these to life, let's come through and do a real example with VS Code to create our very own Notion. So once you're in VS Code and you've opened up a folder that you want to store everything, we're going to type Claude in the terminal. If you can't find the terminal, again, just up the top here, do new terminal, or if you do the bottom bar here, it may just be down here, and I like to work on the right hand side, so I've just dragged it across. Now, what we should see, because we installed it globally, is we should be able to do / and there you go, we've got the superpowers straight away. Now, whenever you're starting off a brand new conversation or brand new execution with Claude Code, make sure to come down and say using superpowers. This just ensures or actually reminds Claude that you've got this skill available, and it's going to try and utilize it with the code that we develop or check and improve. As you can see here, it's now just reminded and confirmed that we've got access to this specific skill. So now what we'll be able to do is / and then superpowers. And first things first, we want to come down and do the brainstorm first of all. This is going to help us start off the process for really understanding what we want to achieve. So we're going to press enter. This is going to start going through and loading up the skill for us. So as we can see here, we're now able to talk to it. This is a much more enhanced mode than doing, for example, Shift and Tab and coming across to plan mode instead. We're going to come back across to auto accept edits, and then we're just going to explain what we want to do. So there we go. I've just typed my prompt in there and it's absolutely awful. It's incredibly vague. It's got lots of different areas for interpretation. But what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we're sending this off to the agent, and this is where it's going to help us go through and really understand what we want to achieve. And this is why Superpowers is becoming like that coding assistant that we really want to help us step through, but really think about everything that sits behind how this application is going to work so that we get the code base right first time. We're going to say, I want it to be a web-based app to compete with Notion and have my global team able to access it. So we'll send that off and then we'll see what it's able to come up with. Again, this is where we're right at the start of the process and it's starting to come with all of those ideas for what we want. We're just going to say, please do the one that you recommend the most. So it's going to go through and hopefully choose maybe number 1 for the React and Node.js, or maybe the Next.js underneath that is the 2 that I think it will probably choose between. There we go. So it chose number 2 and it came back. We'll do autocomplete. Let's go with Supabase. Again, this is why it's really important, even if we didn't have superpowers, to have elements like a PRD, product requirements document, or MRD for markets requirement document, which we touch much more on within our Claude Code Masterclass in the community. We're going to do, again, the autocomplete of 1, 2, 3, and 6 for now. We'll let this run off. Again, it's coming back and asking us all of these questions that we need. We're going to say none for now, as this is for a demo. We'll just send this off to make sure that it's going to have that basic version ready for us to go through. Again, how many people would be asking themselves all of these questions as we go through? We need to make sure that we've got all of this great foundation. Otherwise, the app and the changes later on is going to be awful. We're going to say that we want some mock users for the demo. This is going to go off and create that for us. Again, that will be likely tied to the Supabase that we need to set up as well. We'll say, please, can you do option and then 2. Again, we don't want to just copy it identically. We want to make it slightly different. Of course, this skill isn't designed to give you the best front end. For that, what I'd recommend you do is come across and you want to use a different plugin, which is actually going to be / and then front end design. This will massively improve the quality of the design that you have for your applications and anything you're building with Claude Code instead. We're going to say, let's go with black and this hex code here, just because that's the colors that I use in a lot of my branding and marketing and everything that goes with that as well. We'll see what it's able to come up with. We are going to be hosting with Vercel. So there we go. We've now got our first design coming back. Again, this is just a quick demo to show you what's possible with it. We've got section 1, the overview of the tech stack. It's giving us the front end design, the styling, the different database elements, the core concept, each block. We've then got the aesthetics here as well. We're going to say, yes, this looks right so far. Is there anything I am missing or haven't considered that you think we should include? I always love using that prompt, especially when we're going through and creating something new or really bug testing, error testing, anything like that, because it really helps us spot maybe some gaps in what we've been doing so far or something that we haven't considered, and it will give us some recommendations. We're going to say, yes, please incorporate. So there we go. It's now come back with the data model that we're going to have behind it as well. Again, we can read that in much more detail. Just for the quick thing today, we're going to say, yes, this makes sense. If we now see, it's now asking us about the UI design and the layout. And I think that looks pretty similar to what we would have in Notion. So that makes sense to me. So we're going to say, yes, this is what I had in mind with my color scheme that I mentioned before. Again, you could fully change this and tailor this to exactly what you wanted. It's just to show you that how in-depth in thinking it's really going through to get the outputs that we really want to see. Now it's asking us about the color scheme, so we're going to say yes, this is good. Now we can see it's come up with section 5, again, some of the different commands. We're going to say yes, this is good. We'll send this off. Again, how many people would have thought of all of these different points as they went through, testing the different ideas that you've got. Maybe you're trying to build a different application that you've never done it before, you're brand new, or you're trying to enhance something you've already got. That's where Superpowers really comes into play. Again, we'll say yes, that's all good to go. And this is why I think Superpowers is so powerful, because it's really becoming that coding assistant that helps us get maybe 70-80% of the way there with the idea and can help us execute the code. Again, we'll just say yes, that's all good to go. We'll get through all of these different steps and then we'll get it to write the plan for us and then execute it. If we scroll up, it's now giving us the project sections, which will say, yep, this makes sense. Again, I'd just recommend going through and really understanding what it's going to do, why it's going to do it. Just for this, we're quickly skipping through all of it today to show you what Superpowers is able to do. So now what we'll be able to see is, would we like to be able to create the plan directory? We're going to say yes and always allow to actually create the design document. So again, like Claude Code normally, it's not trying to go off and generate it straight away. It's coming up with the different documents because it knows that we need to go through and write the plan after this. So now what we'll be able to see on the left-hand side is we should have that initial version of that plan ready to go. So we mentioned the design document, so more of that requirements document that we had earlier on, design documents, really explaining what we want, why it's good, all of the different elements included in there. We're going to say yes and don't ask again for similar commands, just so we can start going through and adding all of the Claude local settings in there for us as well. So now it's asking if we're ready for implementation. So this is where we're going to stop and do another action. We're going to say / we're going to do super and then powers. And now we're going to come down to actually writing a great implementation plan. So we're going to enter this in here, and this is going to help us get the best outputs possible. Of course, the reason that we're doing this and not just telling it to go through and do the implementation plan straight away is because we got specific information within each of these skill files that help us get those better outputs. So as you can see here, it's now reading everything that we've got on the left-hand side. It's understood the actual skill file as well, so it knows what it's able to do. And if you want to know all of the different skills that are available, this is what we've got for us to be able to use. We've got testing, debugging, collaboration, and the meta one as well. Of course, if you want to see the information that sits behind it, come back up to GitHub and then up the top for the folders, click on where it's got skills, and then you'll be able to see each one. So what we could do, for example, is just coming down to where we've got executing plans, and we can click skill.md. I'm just going to change it to the code view, just so that you can see in here, it's got that detailed in-step plan. So what we should do for step 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, and so on, to help us get those better outputs. So of course, yes, we're using this with Claude Code, but with the power of tools like Kimi K 2.5 or anything else that's come out to the market, we'd be able to utilize this information to help us get the better outputs with them as well. So there we go, and after a little while, it's generated everything for us. Now, as you can see up here, some of the outputs are so big that you'll just need to go through and make sure that your max token outputs are actually higher than what you may have as standards. But as you can see here, we've now got the implementation plan. So what we'll do is come across to the left-hand side. We've got the design one from earlier on, but now we've got the implementation plan. So if we just close this down, as we can see here, this is now a super long implementation plan document that is going to go through and explain everything to our AI agent for how we want to go through and actually bring this to life. So as you can see here, we can always add and improve and adjust everything to that plan, triple check it's everything that we want it to be before we execute on that command. But with that said, now we can come down to here and we'll be able to see that we've got 2 execution options. That's sub-agent driven development, which is this session as I mentioned, or we're able to do separate sessions as well. This is where we can create new Claude sessions and just go through and execute it at the same time. So for today, we're going to do sub-agent driven development just because it recommended it. And then we're going to say, but first I need to switch modes, do not generate code yet. we'll be able to send this off. And now what it should be able to do is understand, of course, that request. Now we're going to do / we'll do superpowers, and now we should be able to come down and execute that plan. Again, we're going to press enter to make sure it tells Claude what that specific skill is. So it's got that latest information. It should go through and read all of the context from the design plan that we've got and the implementation plan, which it looks like it's doing now. And then it should start going through and actually executing it for us. This is why we want to switch between the different modes, just because, of course, they're all optimized to get specific outputs. As we can see here, it's got 20 tasks across 8 phases, 1 concern before starting, executing the plan. Should I use Superpower using Git worktrees to set up an isolated workspace before started? However, this is a fresh project. We're on the master branch, just 2 commits, and this is an entire project, not just a feature branch. So as mentioned, that's why Superpowers is really good for when you've already got something in place to help you enhance it, improve it, debug, test, everything like that, to make it that development cycle a lot quicker. We're going to say, yes, we're happy to proceed step by, of course, phase 1, initializing the project, then going through and actually getting everything set up for us. We're going to say, yes, proceed. And now it's going to start going through and getting everything set up for us. So it's going to initiate that Next.js project, configure the Tailwind and custom theme, and then it's going to install some of the dependencies. Again, we can go through and say, yes, we're happy for it to execute everything here. On the left-hand side, we should see all of these different documents as well as files and everything else we need starting to be created as well. There we go. So it looks like it's all ready to go. So we've got our first response back. It's executed a load of commands for us. We've got all of the different code up there as well. We're going to come across to a new terminal. We're just going to do npm run dev, which should start up our instance for us so we can access this on the local host. So there we go. We know it's all working. Now we're going to come across to a new terminal. We're going to do npm run and then build. We should go through and make sure that everything is up and running in the background for us. As we can see there, it's gone through and it's found no errors, which is good. One of the errors that I can see straight away though is it's not picking up the different pages that we should have in our app. But that's absolutely fine because, again, we've not got it to actually build any of the UI at the moment. So let's go back across and get it to build everything for us. So now we'll say, yes, continue with the next batch, and we'll send that off. And this should now start going through and getting some of the UI and other elements in there for us as well. As we can see here, we're now on task 4 to 6, as I think there was 20 tasks that we needed to get through. This is why Superpowers is really important, because it's able to go through, break everything up into those tasks. And even if we had an app that already existed, it's going to be able to go through, iterate through all the tasks, execute it as we need in a much more controlled manner than different plugins like Ralph Wiggum plugin and different ones like that, or dangerously continue from Claude themselves as well. So enabled to go through and really get the output that we want. And there we go. We've just got this next part back here, which again is still part of the foundations. It's not rushing to build that UI first. It's going through and getting the foundations in place to have that app running. We'll say continue with the next batch and send it off. So there we go. We should now have our database schema set up in here, which we'll go and execute in Supabase in the future. We should now have our sidebar, some drop down, and we should have some React context there as well for our local storage, of course, with the app that we're building. We're just going to go through and check that our server still runs. So it will come through to a new terminal. We'll just do npm run dev as well, make sure that it's still working, which it looks like it is. So we're all good to go. We'll come back across, we'll say continue with the next batch. Again, I've personally not written a single line of code so far. Again, I always recommend you go through and double check the code that it is generating, so you understand how it's building it, but also it helps with any security or checking that it's going down any of the wrong routes that of course you don't want it to do. So it looks like it's now going to go off, create the pages, some of the actual components as well. So let's check in once it's back. So there we go. We've now got batch 4. Of course, we should be able to create some pages, some dynamic routing, everything like this. And we've got the different commits, of course, that go with that as well. So we're just going to make sure that we close down these previous runs. and then we'll be able to do a new terminal, npm run dev, check that it's all working, which it looks like it started up correctly, which is great. So now if we come across, as we can see here, we've now got that ready to go. We should be able to see all the different ones. We got some welcome pages. It looks like we got some errors straight away. So of course, we're going to get all of this to be updated. So we'll come back across. We're going to say continue with the next batch. So there we go. We've just got batch 5 back. We've got the different / commands that should be working now. And we should be able to go through and test these. So again, we'll just check that that server is running okay. We'll come back across. It looks like we've got no issues so far. So we'll go down and do new page. We'll see if it's able to generate a page for us. We're still getting those errors, so we'll just make sure to screenshot these. We'll come back across. We're going to add that into our conversation. When I select create a new page, it doesn't show me anything. Please resolve these issues before we continue. Continue to batch and then 6. We'll send this off. Just make sure that it's able to go through and solve those errors first before we go through and build on top of that again. So there we go. It's gone through and made the changes for us. Again, we'll come back across to our app. Now, if we do new page, we're getting something come up. So we should be able to change this to testing 1, 2, 3. That's all working. We should be able to say hi there. That's all good to go. We do the / commands. Yep, we've got the different ones coming in here. The heading is quite hard to read. We'll make sure to screen with this. We'll come back across. We're going to say the headline / main text in the drop down is white and hard to read. Please update this. Then continue on to batch 6. We'll send that off, and again, it should start going through, making those changes for us. So we've got batch 6 back now. We should have the tables to be able to insert a database, the Kanban boards, press Command K to switch between the two. So let's go across and we'll come down. We should be able to do Command K, and yet we can do testing. So that all goes through okay for the search. We should be able to see the welcome page, which we do. We should be able to create a new page. Of course, it deleted the last one because we haven't connected our database. The emojis, we need to improve that. We should be able to do / and then we should be able to do Kanban, and that adds in a Kanban board, nice and easy. So again, we could go through and change all of that. We should also be able to come down and do / and table and add tables in here, which it looks like it is working correctly. So that's great to see. So we're just going to go through and say, great, but there's an issue with the Kanban board. Make sure to fix that. We also need to make sure that there's no issues with the tables. And I've also just remembered that it's in the correct color scheme. So we'll make sure to go and correct that before we continue. Again, I've still not written a single line of code. I know it doesn't look like it's massively impressive at the moment, maybe from the outputs that we're getting. But the reason behind that is because, of course, it's focusing on making sure the back end is the best that it can be for the future aspects that we want. But also, if we had a platform already and we were going through and testing and writing plans for anything in that space as well, then we're going to make sure that we get better outputs from day one. So we'll make sure that this goes through okay. All of the updates are now made, so we'll come through. We should now be able to create a page. We'll call this then Kanban. We'll be able to do / and then Kanban board in there exactly as we wanted to see. There we go. Now we should be able to move it across into the different ones. Again, we'll do test. Now what we'll do is we'll make sure that we've got this added in, which it looks like we should do. If we come down and create a new page and we do / and then table, does this add this in? It looks like it does, and we can switch between the Kanban and table, and we'll go through and add in our Supabase connection. So it's got that persistent storage within Supabase versus trying to store everything locally on our machine. But again, I've still not written a single line of code, and we're getting much better outputs than we would just normally with Claude Code. So there we go. As I thought, it's probably around the persistent storage. So let's go across to Supabase and get it set up. We're going to come through and sign in. We're going to create a new organization. We're going to call it Alex's Notion. We're going to create the project in here. Now we've got it all set up, we're going to come down to our project settings, and we should be able to find our API actual URL, which we've got here. So we'll copy this. We're then going to come into our .env.local example. We're going to paste that URL up the top there. We're then going to come across to our API keys. We're then going to come across to the anon keys that we've got here. We're going to copy this, come back across and just paste up the top here. So we've now got that added in. I have added all of the and then credentials. we are going to need to make sure that we run the database schema. So we'll come across to Supabase and the schema, copy all of this, come back across up to the SQL editor, and then we just want to run the command in there so that it sets up our database that runs in the background. Looks like it's gone through successfully. So if we look at table editor, we've now got everything set up and ready to go. So we'll add on, I have also added the schema, so we should be ready to go, and we'll send this off. So there we go. We've just got it to go through, make all of the different changes. Now, again, I've not written a single line of code. I definitely recommend that you do go through and actually understand the code though, to make sure that you get the outputs, the security. Again, for example, running security review within Claude Code, just to make sure that you really understand the outputs. But we've now got a much more robust app that we should be able to use. So if we come across, we should now be able to see everything in here. If we come down to our Kanban board, that looks like it's all stored in there. So again, we would need to go through and just change it so that we've got, for example, the ability to name the Kanban board. If we do a new page, we should be able to do / and then headline. This will do hello there. We can do / again, and then we can do quote. We can do testing. Let's see if we can do / what else we've got in here. So it looks like we could do collapsible content. We'll just check if the toggle is working. We'll do toggle heading. Then we'll be able to do testing. Again, we'll see if that collapses. So that doesn't work. So we need to go through and test that. But as you can see here, we've got an incredibly good first version that we'll be able to bring to life. But this isn't just where Superpowers really comes into its own. It's really good at also being able to work with existing code bases, understanding what you're trying to achieve, where you want to make improvements, come through and plan, and everything like this to really help get the best outputs. So what do I think of Superpowers within Claude Code? Well, I think it's an absolutely fantastic dev partner that we'll be able to use actually building out and improving existing applications. It's going to give us a much better structure, much better outputs than, of course, not using it in the more standard version of Claude Code. It also has the huge potential as AI evolves, as the skills update, and we notice better ways of course, getting the outputs. Is it 100% of the way there? No, there's still a few elements here or there that could be improved, but of course, that's the stay with everything in AI and automation at the moment. This is one of the things that I'm really excited to see grow and improve in the future, because it helps us set up those really solid foundations for our vibe coding that we're doing. If you're interested in more about AI and automation, make sure to check out the community, the first link in the description. If you want AI and automation for your business, check out the second one, and make sure to subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out. Stay tuned for more around AI automation, and have a great day.